I wanted to like this book so bad, but I did not. I gave it 2 stars. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Faith and thanks so much for watching. It's officially August, so of course it is time to do my July reading wrap up. I read or DNF'd 5 books this month and I've been in a terrible slump for the past 2 months, so honestly, I think that's pretty good. As always, this video will contain spoilers and I'll put timestamps of when I talk about each book in the description below. And I'm in a different filming location this week, just because. And with that being said, let's get right into it. The first book I read this month was the arc of Again at Home by Amelie Rhys. I gave this one 5 stars. I loved it. Again at Home is book 5 in the Wildflower series, and it was easily one of my most anticipated reads of the year. The plot was a 10 out of 10. I didn't want to put this book down at all, and like I said, I've been in a really bad reading slump, so for me not to want to put this book down while I'm in a reading slump is insane. Like, it was so good. There were quite a few flashbacks in this book and they were all a bit longer than they normally are in this series. I gotta be honest, I'm not a huge fan of flashbacks. I feel like it often completely throws off the pace of the book. However, in this book, I think they were done perfectly. Their story really needed the flashbacks and I don't think there was a single time where a flashback pulled me out of the story. The characters, another 10 out of 10. I loved Ellie and Sully so much. They're easily one of my favorite book couples ever, and I also loved the character development that they had from the start to the end of the story. I also love to see all of the past couples from the Wildflower series and seeing them still happy and in love. Of course, it's a romance series, they're gonna still be happy in love, but I love seeing it. Honestly, it's really rare for a romance book to make me cry. This one had me ugly sobbing on my couch at 11 p.m. So basically, when you read this, bring your tissues. My initial reaction right after I read this book was, oh, this is my new favorite book in the series. However, I love Awake at Dawn, which is book 2, so much. And low-key, I want to reread it to see if Again at Home actually did take its #1 spot. But honestly, it's too painful to say Awake at Dawn is second, so I'm just gonna say they're both my favorite books in this series. Like I said, I will reread, but as of now, Noah London, you have been dethroned by your brother. And there's honestly so much more that I could say about this book, but words just do not describe how much I loved it. While I'm so excited for the next book, I'm so sad that the series is coming to an end. But again, this book was so good. And while I was lucky enough to read the arc for it, it is available now for everybody to read. Again, I gave it 5 stars and I highly recommend. And the next book I read was the arc of Yes Chef by Reilly. Do not come for me. I wanted to like this book so bad, but I did not. I gave it 2 stars. This book had such a strong start and it instantly hooked me, but unfortunately it lost me around the 20% mark. After that, everything just felt really repetitive and I was insanely bored until probably the 70% mark. After the 70% mark, the pacing did start to pick up and it did get a little better. However, it had really just lost me already. I liked Poppy. I think the ADHD rep was written very well. However, I had a really hard time liking Jack until the very end of the book. I really hated the way that he treated her, especially at the beginning, and also their transition into a relationship just didn't make sense to me at all. By the end, I did come around to Jack and their relationship, but it just took way too long and I was over it by that point. I've seen so much love for this book. I'm pretty sure I don't have a mutual who rated it less than 4 stars. It really just wasn't for me at all. I am a really picky eater, so maybe that's part of the reason why. I definitely just am not the target audience for this book. So as much as I wanted to like it, I did end up giving it 2 stars, and I'm sorry, but I personally would not recommend it. Next up, we have The Hurricane Wars, and I DNF'd this one. This is actually my 2nd time DNFing this book. The first time I DNF'd around the 15% mark, and this time I DNF'd around the 25% mark. So I did get a bit farther in this time. I don't know what it is. I just cannot get into this book. I think the concept sounds really interesting, but I've given it 2 tries so far and I just cannot get into it. I don't know why, because I really feel like it's something that I would like. I'm just not liking it. Sorry if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. Like I said, this was my 2nd try with this book. Honestly, I don't think I'm gonna give it a 3rd try. I think this book just isn't for me. I think it starts off pretty good. The first 5% definitely has me hooked, but it just loses me from there. So unfortunately, I do think I'm just gonna go ahead and unhaul this book. I do have the physical copy, I just don't have it with me right now. So again, The Hurricane Wars was a DNF for me and I would not recommend it. But the next book I read was the arc of Fossil Feud by Maggie North. If you know me, you know how much I love dinosaurs and paleontology, so a paleontology romance sign me up. I really enjoyed this one and I ended up giving it 4 stars. The start was kind of confusing to me and there was a bit of a slow lull towards the middle of the book, but other than that, I loved it. Plot-wise, the ending was definitely my favorite. It was really fun and it felt like a little espionage mission. I also really liked Ripley and James's relationship. One of my favorite things in a STEM romance is seeing a man in STEM defend women in STEM, and James did that constantly throughout this book and I love to see it. Writing wise, there were a few times where it was pretty hard to differentiate what was a flashback and what was currently happening, but other than that, overall, the writing wasn't bad. And like I said, I love paleontology, so I never had a hard time following any of the paleontology terms at all. However, I do think that if you have little to no knowledge of paleontology, there might be some confusing parts for you. But as somebody who loves paleontology, I loved how in-depth it went in the paleontology aspect. And also, this book gets bonus points for all of the Jurassic Park and Aliens references because those are my 2 favorite movies of all time. And while I did read the arc of this book, it is available now for everybody. Again, I gave it 4 stars and I would definitely recommend, especially if you're into paleontology or dinosaurs. And the last book I read this month was Smoke and Scar by Gretchen Fox, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. I actually did a video last week about my predicted 5-star reads, and while I did include this book and sadly it wasn't 5-star, it was 4.5 and that's still really good and it did not disappoint me at all. The plot was so addicting, honestly, 10 out of 10. Incredible. This book is 449 pages and there was not one single moment where the plot or pacing lulled at all. I also loved the characters so much. Every single character, including the side characters, had some level of depth to them. So while yes, of course, there are 2 clear main characters, it felt like every single character played a crucial role in the story. Honestly, I was really heavily debating on giving this book 5 stars. However, I am trying to be stricter with my ratings, especially my 5-star ratings, because I feel like I shouldn't be giving books 5 stars if I have criticisms on them. And while I did love this book so much, the imagery was kind of lacking for me. And kind of lacking is kind of generous. There were quite a few moments where it was hard to picture what I'm supposed to be picturing. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's this aphantasia scale where people who fall on a 5 see nothing in their mind, and people who fall on a 1 see images perfectly in their mind. I'm lucky enough to fall on the 1, so when I'm reading a book, I kind of picture that thing just like a movie in my head. So for me, imagery is pretty important because when I'm reading, I'm also going to be basically watching the book as a movie in my head. So when the imagery is lacking in a book, it does kind of dull that down for me, which just makes it less fun. And in case you don't know what I mean by saying the imagery was lacking, I basically mean that there were times where the setting or characters' descriptions were not really explained that well. So I didn't know what I'm supposed to picture they look like or where I'm supposed to picture that they are, if that makes sense. That was literally my only issue with this book and the only thing that held me back from giving it a 5-star. 4.5 is still very good and I'm very excited for the next book, which comes out in less than 2 weeks. And I know book 2 was indie released and it's technically on Kindle Unlimited, but I'm waiting for it to be trad released so I can get the physical copy. I'm super excited for that one. Again, I gave Smoke and Scar 4.5 stars and I would highly recommend it. And those are the 5 books that I read or DNF'd in July. I read the last 325 pages of this book yesterday, and honestly, I think it pulled me out of my reading slump. At the time I'm filming this, it's not even noon, and I've already read today. That's like the first time I've read before noon in weeks. So I'm hoping to keep it going, and I'm hoping my August reading month is better. And with that, that is all that I have for you guys today. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow my Instagram and my TikTok, which are in the description below for more bookish content. I hope you all had a great reading month. If not, I hope it's better in August. Love you guys. Bye!